So from what I understand, a lot of you guys want to make a chest rig. Stick around, I'll show you how to do it. One note before we even get started is you will probably need at least a semi-industrial machine to sew this project out of these materials. I sewed mine with a Sailrite LS1 machine, and while it had plenty of power, the problem I had was that it had like the presser foot didn't lift high enough to get all these layers underneath, and it caused a lot of problems. It would have been even worse. I wouldn't have been able to complete this on a household machine. Like one like that, no way, not a chance. You might be able to get away with the lighter material. This is 1000D ballistic nylon. That's what this stuff is. So it's very firm, and it's a pretty heavy duty material. It wears like nails. It's a really good material. It's a good choice for this. You might be able to get away with like Cordura, which is also a great material. It's just not quite as heavy. I don't know if it will maintain the shape like this. I mean, it's a pretty firm item. So it's something to think about before you buy the materials and try to do this. You might not be able to do it with your equipment, so just keep that in mind. I now have a new Consew, like pure industrial machine. That industrial machine will practically sew bricks together. The thing's great. So that's what we'll be using on this project. So we have all the pieces laid out now. I've got them all marked lightly. I marked them all with a chalk pen. If you make a mistake in marking, like I did, it wipes off or wears off pretty easily. Instead of using pen or anything like that, you'll never get that off of there. So that's really all you need. It doesn't take a ton of material. The longest piece on here is 42 inches, and that's the strap. So basically you need a piece of material that's, you know, at least 42 wide by, well, roughly 2 feet. You know, it's really not even a yard of material to make this. So material-wise, it's not terribly expensive for the fabric anyway. Where you run into the expense is the buckles and the strapping and the Velcro and all the little things that go like with it. We're gonna make this back piece first, and you have to get your straps and stuff ready. So here are 2 of the panel pieces that we cut out earlier. You can see a little chalk mark. I mismarked it. It's chalk, it'll come off. It's not a big deal. So we'll need 6 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And what I did when I did this one, I just cut them like here. That way I don't have to sew this piece. Again, I'm using the factory attachment. So we just cut it off here, and then that's sandwiched into here. So we've got our pieces. We've got, it's got the front side, your good side, and then you've got your back side. And on this particular material, it's kind of rubbery, so it's pretty obvious which is front and back. You take, again, the back side, and you fold this like that and like that, and you do that around all 4 edges to get that overall size, which is, again, 9 by 6. So the overall length on this piece is 10 inches. We want it to be 9 inches, so we'll cut in a 1/2 inch on each side. Not cut in, fold in, I should say. And then you can just run a chalk line like that. So then flip it over, and when you fold it over, you just stop at that chalk line. It's really easy to tell how far over to fold it. Take your iron. Don't put it on super duper hot. You just want to, give it a press along your line. And you're going to do that all the way around. When you get to a corner like this, keep your needle down in the down position, but as it's on its upstroke, bring it up just a hair, lift your needle, then pivot, then drop it back down. And that will create a nice 90-degree stitch at that corner. If you don't pivot it when that needle is in its upstroke, you'll have a stitch that will go diagonally across that corner. You don't want that. It's not as tidy. I'm just kind of trying to show like different methods you can do this. You can stick it, pin it, iron it, clip it. Some of the thicker stuff that I don't want to pin, hairpins work fantastic. You just stick them on like that and it keeps it folded over. And then like as you're cruising along, you just pull them out of there. And I'm using like a 3.5 millimeter stitch on this. And be sure to back stitch at the beginning and the end of your stitch runs, just to make sure that nothing comes undone. And that's what we're left with. I don't know if you can see with all the weird lighting, but if you can't see the stitching, that's a good thing. So there's one panel, and then I'll do the other panel the same way, and then we'll sandwich the buckles in here. I've got the little tails in here. On the one that we're duplicating, these buckles are the females, all 4 of these buckles. These buckles up here are the males. So you need to make your own little tail for it, which is like no big deal. We have all that webbing that we cut off of these, so we're just going to use a couple little pieces of that. So you'll just take your male clip and go around, and then just run a few lines of stitching back and forth here, and then I'll leave a tail, probably cut it right about here, and that part will be sewn, stitched, sandwiched in there on the here and here. Then I'll do one more just like that. Then I'll take these pieces, stick them in here. I'm going to start at like the fussiest corner. That way I think the shifting will be minimal. There's what we've got. Okay, so now we have our back panel done. Then you want to make sure which one of these is the back side and the front side. Remember, we have the little tabs facing the back, so this will go on the front side. So I'll stick it right there. Then we'll head over to the big girl sewing machine and sew that on. There's the Velcro. So this is the front of the back pocket, basically the pocket that goes on here. And we're going to do the same thing that we did with creating these tidy edges, which is doing the fold over all the way around. Then I'll show you how to turn a flat piece of fabric into an actual 3D pocket. That's all pressed. And we're going to put a piece of Velcro about an inch down from this top edge. And this piece gets Velcro on both sides. So one here and one here. One good thing about all this excess, you'll have all this extra crunchy side of Velcro. If you like to make morale patches, this is what you stick on the back of it. They're 2-inch. I have an embroidery machine, so I can make morale patches for this kind of stuff too. So there's really never any waste. You just have to find creative ways to use it up. And I lost my scissors again. I need a scissor holster, I think. And stick that down. Okay, well, I'm gonna fold that over twice just to make a neater edge up here. That'll be better than having that flopping around. So in order to make this, you're gonna make a 3D pocket out of it. You got your right side of the fabric. You fold this corner down like that. And then we want a 2-inch deep pocket. So we measure from the peak 2 inches. I don't know if you can see the tape measure down there. There's a tape measure here. Like that. Just gonna put a mark. And we're gonna sew across like that. Right sides together. Make sure it's nice and squared up when you put it in the machine. And that's what that looks like. Looks like a mess. But we turn it right side out. And now it's nice. Yep, and I put way too much Velcro on here. I only needed like a small section here. Your piece of Velcro on here really should only be 7 inches long, roughly. Give myself a guideline. This is a seam ripper. Nice sharp one. If you use one of these, and you will get real familiar with one of these, don't stab your, this is a woven fabric, so be careful that you don't dig into it, or you can pick it up backwards like that and you can just see the stitches that you want to hack. If you do any amount of sewing, this will be your best friend, trust me. We have to make one more of these for the, now we're making this one, the front pocket. It's the exact same procedure as that one. So I really don't even need to show it. It's the exact same thing, literally. One difference I do have to note when I say we're doing the exact same thing, this pocket is shorter. You can see that these two back pieces are the same height. This one is about 3/4 of an inch lower than this middle pocket. So when you do your top fold on this one, just keep that in mind, keep that measurement in mind. It takes a little bit of pretzel logic to do this. This is the piece we're going to use, and this will be folded under this, so then this will be our, you know, our actual bottom edge, not here. It'll be this line. What you can do is take the pocket you've already made, just sort of line it up. I don't know if you can really see that, maybe. Just line it up on that line. And just stick your finger in this peak, like that. And just roll it forward and see where it ends. I put a little mark up here. So that would, if we folded it over right there, it would make it exactly the same size as this pocket, which we don't want. So from that point, I went down about another 3/4 of an inch. So that will mean this will be our finished size of this pocket. It will be 3/4 of an inch lower than this other pocket. I hope that makes sense. I don't know how else to explain that. Now it's time to cut the little ears off. Just check them over, make sure it's all good. Then cut all that off. And then I'm just going to use my lighter and just singe the edges, try to keep that from fraying. Do the same thing with the other pocket. So we're going to try to put these together now, so they kind of nest like that. And I'm going to overlap this kind of imaginary edge by about 1/2 inch. So just stick the seam in there like that, about 1/2 inch or so. Then we'll try to keep that consistent all the way around. So we're going to sew all along here. I'm going to do that all the way around. Once this pocket is attached to that pocket, then we attach the whole works to that back piece. And this is probably the trickiest part of the whole operation. Ow, jeez. Pins going from in to out, that way I can pucker it in without stabbing into the material. Now I'll just have to be careful not to stab myself. Ow. like that. You probably won't really be able to see this because this is all going to be bundled up in the way. I'll try to get it out of the way so you can kind of see what's going on. I'm putting extra tacking at the top because that's a stress point. These tricky areas, it might be better just to use your hand wheel and try to stitch around them. Yeah, I'm sorry about the bad view, but maybe you can kind of see that way. I'm sort of using the the weave or the grain of the fabric to try to keep this straight too. This part is probably the most difficult part of the whole program. Now we're moving on to the strap, or the, the chest, or the shoulder straps. And more of the same. You'll take it, and you'll fold 1/2 inch over on this edge here, and this edge here. And then you'll fold the whole bit over like that. And that will give you a neat side there, and a neat edge there. For the strap, I folded it over. I did the neat edge on there and everything. And then I'm folding it over like this, and I'm like bobby pinning the crap out of it because this has to stay straight. Like if you sew this kind of cockeyed, it'll want to twist, and that's no good. If you don't want to do straps like this, you can probably buy like Coyote colored wide webbing. That would probably work just fine. But I don't have that, and I like the straps to match the rig, so this is I just make my own strap. But anyway, that's why there are a ton of pins on here. Okay. And then I'll go and press this so I get a nice crease there and it doesn't bend. And then I'll run a line of stitching there as well. To make the rear straps, or the shoulder straps, you're going to measure up about 13 inches. Again, if you're like a big person, you can make these any size you want. This is just an average size. This is what size fits me. And you fold this back like that. Make sure it's nice and square. That's what these are really nice for. They help you square everything all up neatly. And then you can press this with an iron, or pin it, or I'll just throw one of these clips on here for now, just to keep it in place while we're fiddling with it. And then you go 6 inches across. Like that. From this point to this point is 6 inches. And again, you want to try to keep your fold nice and square here. Grab another clip. And we've got a little bit of excess at the bottom that we'll just cut off. So we're laying out all the buckles and everything for the chest straps. You measure up 1, 2, 3, about 4 inches. And just make a mark. And that's where you'll sew. Same thing on the other side. 6 1/4 inches up will be for these straps here. And for the bottom here on this raw edge, we'll take a piece of the webbing. You know, they've got miles of it left. Just fold it in half like that, and you have to burn each end so they don't fray. But that will go here. So we'll just stitch that on underneath there, and then put all the rest of the buckles and straps on. Back at the big girl machine, a little folded piece that you made. Stick it right on here. And make sure again that you've burned both ends so it doesn't fray. So there you go. We'll do these middle ones here. And that's at that 6 1/4 mark. Again, it's all kind of ballparked. There's no real specific measurements for it, at least not that I did anyway. But I'm just trying to give you an idea of where to put stuff. I'm just trying to line up the seam with the existing stitching. It's not super important, but it's just kind of a nice detail if you can do it. So for these bottom straps that go across here, these buckles will be strapped down like right about here, like that. The things like this, these that you're making that go over here, like these ones are just the same width as the shoulder strap. You know, you can put like, I don't know, hook a flashlight or a water line thing for something, camelback or something, whatever through there, whatever you want to use for that, or that for rather. But these ones down here have a purpose, and that's to hold the buckles in place. So you can't just make them this length. You got to make them long enough to fit over the buckle and give yourself a little bit of slack. So depending on how wide you've made your shoulder straps, you know, will dictate how wide you make this. So I'm not really going to tell you, oh, it has to be 2 3/4 inches wide or anything, because it just depends on your measurements. So just so you know, when you're cutting your materials, that's what that does. So it has to go, you know, you've got to be able to get the strap or the buckle in and out of there. So keep that in mind. So there, that's how it's, you got the loop there. You can see that it fits right through there, and it'll keep it from flapping around or whatever the purpose of that is. It works. Okay, moving on to the buckles. Okay, there we go. That's where we're at now. So that shoulder strap's almost finished. And then the 2 little back straps. Back straps. These guys will go here like that. And these, I do a box stitch in. So you just go across and then, well, it's a box with an X in it. Box X stitch, I guess they're called. And you'll always have to backtrack over one of the lines that you've done to complete the X, of course. I always try to do the double row of stitching on the stress point, which in this case it would be this top stitch, because you know that's where it's really going to get pulled on. So, you know, I don't put it on the side because there's not really much lateral pressure. All the pressure is going this direction. So I put the double row stitching in that direction, where it can actually be beneficial. Okay, there it is, all finished. I should mention that these pieces, these straps here, I made mine 21 inches long. Again, depending on your size, whatever, but that gives me plenty of room to fold them over with the slider and adjust it and the buckle and all the rest of it. Now we will assemble the entire, the pockets to the back panel of the chest rig, and that should be it except for the mag sleeves. So we are finally on to the last assembly step. So you've got your 2 pockets here that you've done. This is where it gets tricky again. It's the same as we did here, except it's just more stuff, more material. You can see how thick that's getting up here. It's over a 1/2 inch thick. Can't really pin it. There's no way that I'll be able to get a pin through there. So another solution for stuff that has to be held tight, that's thick, binder clips. It's actually even, might be a little too thick for these. Oh, there we go. And that holds it very securely. So we're gonna start sewing here and just go around. Aesthetically, really the most important part is to have this top edge even. Like you want it to meet here. Like if this one's down here, that's fine. But then this one should be down there too. So that's the big part that you really see on the whole works. Down underneath here, you're not gonna see it, and you're gonna have things in the bag, and if it's not completely even and whatever, it's fine. But at the top here, you wanna make sure that it's nice and squared up and tidy. So we're starting in that 1/2 inch thick hunk of corners there. So I'm gonna start by hand. I'm just gonna turn the hand wheel and punch through manually right there. I'm just gonna put a few stitches in there. Anytime I manipulate the material, if I need to do something, I drop the needle. That way I don't lose my place. Since I've freed up a clip, I'm gonna go ahead and put that at the bottom here next to the other one. Hopefully. These barely fit on here. There. I'll just leapfrog them around like that. And you can just take your hands and just manipulate this fabric until you have a nice clean line here. You kind of have to hand pin it, I guess, bully it. And at a corner like this, if you're worried about running away with it, just do it by hand. Turn that hand wheel. You can get it exactly where it needs to be that way. Gives you a chance to manipulate things as you go. Again, this is another corner seam that's really thick, so takes a little bit of finesse to get around there. But we can do it. We're cruising right along here. Again, leapfrog clips. Try to give you a look at how this corner. You got all this fabric bunched up along here. I know it's hard to tell, sorry. Try to poke that in, maybe you can see a little better. There we go. We have to come along here like that, and we've got all this, there's a seam here, so we've got a couple layers there and everything. And of course we're turning something flat into something three-dimensional, so there's that issue as well. Just take your time and you'll get it. It's just fussy, but it's not impossible. And as you come to the corner again, I'm gonna use the hand wheel. You do it however you like, but this gives me a good chance to see exactly where I'm going, what I'm doing, and if I need to manipulate the material as I go, I can do that. I can lift up the presser foot, round that corner a little tighter. My machine has a knee lift, which is really nice. Obviously, I'm able to, raise and lower the foot with my knee while keeping my hands in place. That's really nice. back over to the straight run. So it'll be a little easier. Another nice thing about an industrial is you can actually drop a stitch with the foot up. And when you start getting fabric or something bulked up in here that you need to get beyond, that's a really, really handy feature. You don't get tangled on what's there. Back to the old 1/2 inch thick section. Throw some backward stitching in there. That's what we got. All right. Well, if you've come this far, congratulations. The rest of this will be laughably simple. This is like, if you've done this part, you'll be like, oh, well, that's nothing. So we're gonna make the mag things now. Super, super simple. Elastic. Okay, we've got all this Velcro, the crunchy side of the Velcros. So double it up, go to about 9.5 inches, roughly. Then we'll stitch at the 9-inch mark and then trim the rest off. So because I've already made one, I'm just gonna use my own marks for it. So we'll run a line of stitching there, line of stitching there, line of stitching there. And those are at 1, 2, 3 inch intervals. And then at the end here. Like that. And then the Velcro, they're 2-inch by 2-inch pieces. So we'll cut this at 6 inches. Our handy dandy 2-sided tape. It's nice for this. My cat has the zoomies. She's running all over the house. Then put them down like about 1/4 of an inch from the top. Just kind of eyeball it. Okay, for this little end piece here, just trim it off a little closer. These aren't the greatest scissors for this. And get your trusty lighter and just burn the edge so it doesn't fray, make a mess. All right, we're on to the final assembly. All that's really left to do is to put it together. So for the shoulder straps, we want to make this assembly. And the way you do that is you put your slider on first, like that. And put it kind of, I don't know, wherever. And then you'll go like through the bottom of the buckle, like that. And through there, like so. And then just up through here again, like that. And like that. And then these of course are adjustable, and the slider keeps them from flapping you in the face and stuff. That. For my bottom belt, I guess it is, strap, I just cut a 36-inch piece of webbing, and I put 2 sliders on there, and that's pretty much like, there's a lot of adjustment there. So it's the same thing. Just grab a couple of your buckles, you know, that are probably still on, the ones that you put on the thing here. And same thing, like that. Go through. And you can adjust these to whatever trunk size you've got. Again, if you're a bigger person, you'll need probably a little bit longer of a strap. But there's a lot of adjustment in here, so maybe you won't. That, like that. And that buckle goes on the bottom here like this. Go around your body and into there. It's kind of like the waist or lower chest buckle. And then this guy goes on there like that, like that. This will go over your shoulders. This goes under your armpit. I'll show you on this side so you can see a little better. It goes under your armpit at kind of an angle and clips into there and into there. And that's how the whole looks. Hopefully you can kind of see. And it's almost infinitely adjustable. You can really, this will fit a lot of people. For the mag holders, take a piece of paper, just fold it in half, put it over the Velcro, and then you can slip it right in there without it sticking to everything. Makes it a lot easier. Just stick it right in there. Get it down to where you want it. Stick it in. That's it. And now you've got your mag pockets. And then the same thing with these are a little easier to operate. This isn't the right mag pocket. Where is it? Oh, this one. That's the one for this one. That one you can just kind of stick in there. Like that. Hopefully you can kind of see in there. And now you have this space if you want to put a water bottle or whatever else. You can put a pistol in there with a like an IWB holster that will clip on here or there or wherever. That works. So there you go. If you decide you want to make the flap, you know, the little flap that closes parts of these pockets off, you don't have to do it double like this if you don't want to. You can make it just like we started with all the other things. You got your good side of the fabric. Just simply fold over whatever size, you know, however big you want this end piece to be, fold it over, stitch it in, or you can even double fold it like that so it has a nice clean edge around the back if you want, whatever. And then stitch your Velcro pieces on there. And you just have to think about how this goes in here to place the Velcro. Like you got a crunchy one because it has to stick to the soft stuff in there. And then I put soft stuff on the outside so I can, you know, crunchy on the back so it sandwiches. And then I can put the morale patches or whatever I want on the outside. It's an option. You don't have to run it, but if you want to, you can. Easy to make. I'll probably make this. I'm just not going to video it because it's more of the same. So that's pretty much it. I really hope you found that helpful to get through your project. And as always, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.